This is a Porsche Panamera, but in a break from XCAR tradition, it's not the most powerful one in the lineup. No, this is the hybrid. It's the one you buy if you really like kale, but refuse to buy it from anywhere with Walmart on the wall because they don't do veg quite as good as everybody else.
I digress. This is the Porsche Panamera SE hybrid. It's not a normal hybrid by any measure. It'll manage 0 to 62 from rest in 5.5 seconds. It'll hit 167 miles an hour too, which makes it one of the fastest hybrid cars in the world.
So it's a very fast car, but you don't buy a hybrid to go really, really quickly. Well, you don't normally, but the Porsche 918 Spider hybrid hypercar kind of makes that point a bit difficult to make. So you don't normally buy a hybrid to go really quickly. You buy it to be all green and whatnot. So its shiny numbers need to be really impressive, and frankly, they're staggering. According to Men in Lab codes, this car will manage over 90 miles to the gallon in the UK, and it'll emit just 71 grams per kilometre of carbon dioxide. That's both a lot and, well, nothing. And then things get a bit scary when you remember that the Panamera, the hybrid at least, weighs a little over 2 tons. But it's more economical than you could ever possibly imagine a Porsche would be.
So how did Porsche, a purveyor of very fast shiny things, end up making a car that'll get into London's congestion charge zone for free?
Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. One, because Porsche should be looking after the environment, and two, because money. Let's start with the former, shall we? Now, even though Porsche made its business making good-looking, fast, nice-sounding cars, it doesn't mean they shouldn't be looking after the environment and making cars that are good for it. Well, not necessarily good for it, but better for it. You get my jam. But Porsche, being Porsche, couldn't just make a hybrid. It had to be one of the fastest around, hence the silly quick 0 to 62 time. But what it means is that you get the full Porsche experience, but you don't get the guilt of driving a car that steps on Mother Nature's toes.
Then the latter. People will spend money on nice things that make them look good. Not only are you buying a Porsche, you're also buying peace of mind. When someone asks what you drive, you can proudly tell them, "Oh, it's a Porsche, but it's also a hybrid. Driving it's like noshing a polar bear. You simply must try it."
How it goes about being green is very smart. You see, this is a plug-in hybrid, so under the bonnet you've got a 3-litre supercharged V6 and an electric motor. Now, under electric power alone, you can travel up to 22 miles at speeds of up to 84 miles an hour. And when you run out of juice, there are 2 ways of charging it back up again. If your journey's over, you can simply plug it in as you would do a normal electric car and refill it that way. Or if you're still on the move, the 3-litre V6 will act as a generator, providing power not only for the wheels, but also generating electricity for the battery, which then goes on to power the electric motor later on. It's all very smart. Now, under normal driving conditions, the car will decide what's best for you. So if you're in town, it might decide you only need electric power, and it'll do the whole start-stop thing at traffic lights and what have you. Or you might need a little bit of V6. Either way, it knows best. That is, until you press the Sport or Sport Plus button. What that does is it causes both motors to work alongside one another to use this car's full 410 brake horsepower and 435 pound-foot. This car has to be comfortable enough for a whole family, but still provide the kicks that you want. So yeah, when you press your sport button, it's great, you go very quickly, but also for normal driving, it's so smooth and so quiet, and the hybrid aspect of this actually adds to the quietness. It's such a clever system that someone driving this who maybe was skeptical about a hybrid, maybe thinking that, oh, when the engine comes on it judders and it's all futuristic and whatnot and I don't think I'll like it, they won't notice. You just don't in this system. It's so very clever. There are a few downsides though. The biggest one is the weight of the car. This thing does weigh over 2 tons. And even though, yes, it's a Porsche, and yes, it's very smooth, and yes, it's very comfortable, you can tell you're lugging around a lot of weight. You can tell in the corners that even in sport mode, there's a lot to heft around. So it's not as flat and it's not as smooth, but it's not a proper sporty sports car, because there is all that extra hybrid gubbins in there to lug around. And there are buttons for literally everything, which can get a little irksome. The only other car I've known with as many buttons as this is a Vauxhall Insignia, and that's because it's got buttons for, well, everything and then some. And this is kind of along those lines, but at least because of the way the cockpit's designed, they're easy to hand. As luxury cars go, this one's going to take some beating.
All the hybrid tech is very clever, as is the guff inside to make your ride more comfortable. The speed is very lovely and it's all very Porsche-ish. It's ace, but I do have a bigger problem with it. It's not the eco nature of it, that's very honourable. It's the care-eating people who it's aimed at.
Now, I know people are going to disagree with me on this. This is very much a personal thing, but the Panamera isn't an attractive car, and this is the facelifted one. This is the one that Porsche's designers had a second crack at. Admittedly, the canvas they had to work with wasn't all that good, but still, I really don't find it pretty at all. You know what it reminds me of? You know when people put sticky tape on their faces and kind of pull features back like a plastic facelift? It's kind of like they've done that, but to a hippo. There is one other problem with it as well, in that it's such a vast car. It is enormous, and Britain's roads especially aren't necessarily all that wide. So a nervous driver, someone who maybe isn't used to something quite as vast, might not get on with it.
Okay, so that's two problems, but still, many people still associate the term hybrid with a Prius, and when they hear Porsche, they also hear sports car. With the Panamera hybrid, you not only get super eco Prius equaling cred, you also get the performance of a sports car. We live in an age where you can have your kale and eat cake too.